The first part of this week's work is to create a series of slides, one for each stair tower that you've created for your pools in the file that you've been working on. So notice that under the pool rectangle layer, I've created a new sublayer called Slide 1, and I've given it this nice chartreuse color. The slide itself, seen here, is created around a spiral center line where some 3D curves have been worked to blend together. I'm going to take that and take it away so that you can see some of the geometry that underlies this. So we're going to start in this first video creating the spiral or curve that will form the path of the slide, and then a cross-section that gets placed around that. In the second video, we'll talk about different strategies for sweeping these cross-sections along that rail curve, and ways to troubleshoot that, also ways to modify the cross-sections to get the curve to the slide, for instance, to tilt at the bottom so that someone coming down it would not fly out before they slide into the water. So I'm going to start off and talk about the way that that I went about creating this. I'm going to take away these curves for now and recreate what I did. The first thing that I did was to draw a vertical line from the corner of the stair tower, and that's going to be used just as a central axis for a spiral that we're going to make as part of the rail geometry. And the command that we're going to use is spiral. Spiral is a command that is not easily found in the flyouts of the drawing buttons. But if you type in spiral, you'll get this. We're not making a flat spiral. It wants the start of an axis, so I'll start at the bottom of this vertical curve that I've made, and I'll come up to the end of it. And it wants to know some things. It wants to know the first radius, and I've put in 8 feet, which will work. It also wants to know the number of turns, and you will need to click here in the command line, and I've told it to do 1 turn. And as you move this around in plan, once you've clicked on the axis again, it wants to know a kind of start and end point. So I'm going to just click on the face of the tower, and then it wants a second radius, and you could give it a different radius. It could start off smaller and get larger, as you see the curve that I'm using here does. And in fact, I might just click on this, so you could type in a number to know what the second radius. So what I've made is right now an eccentric spiral that is about 6 feet in radius at the top, 8 feet in radius at the bottom. It wouldn't work very well in its current position because it's too close to the foot of the stairs, and we want to have a line coming off the top of the stair tower for it to attach to. So I'll just make a line segment from the end there, and I will draw it out for a distance of about, let's say, 6 feet to start with. And this line segment, it ended up down on the top plane. I'll move it up from its endpoint. Here to the end of this spiral. And then I'll take the spiral and I'll move it from endpoint to endpoint. And so now I've got these two curves. I can take this vertical axis that I'd made and I can delete that. That was just useful geometry. And you can see here that there's a kink in these two curves. Now I could add a little bit of a curve at the end. I could do several things. The first thing I want to do is to take away this kink, and because these are three-dimensional curves now, they are not operating in one or another construction plane purely, we can't use a fillet command to start to blend these two together. The command we need is a blend curve command. So if you type in blend, you'll see blend curve. Notice that you can blend lots of things, edges and surfaces and whatnot. But we're going to blend curve, blend CRV, and it wants to know two curves, and so I'm going to set these up. I'm actually going to change the construction plane for visibility here. I'm going to set it to the top and just get it out of the way. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see what we're doing, and I'm going to blend curve, and I'm going to select the spiral and the straight line. And notice that an input box shows up asking for what kind of blending do you want. And these are pretty technical terms. Curvature blending, curvature continuity is probably what we're going to go with. It shows you then this diagram here with a 1 and a 2, and you can move the location of the 1 further down or back. So you can get a smoother blend. You can move the 2 back a bit. You can put them closer together. And it's showing you the results with the original curve with the kink and a new blended curve next to it. And you could try tangency, which you'll see makes kind of a nice thing. Sometimes this might pop up or have a little bit of an extra bend outward. I think I might go with tangency right now, and I might move the number 1 blend point back a little bit. And I'll say, okay, I think that looks pretty nice. So what I've got now are two curves that are blended three-dimensionally. So it's a nice clean three-dimensional transition between the straight kind of takeoff point and the spiral. So the next thing I'm going to do is return my construction plane to the face of the stair tower, and I'll use C-planes, and I'll set it to surface, and with the origin in one corner and the x-axis on the other. For some reason it gets a little confused sometimes. That's not looking very happy. I can work with a rotated construction plane like that, and in fact I think I will. But it's just sort of odd. I don't know why the x-axis went in a funky direction. But to move on, I'm going to create the cross-section of this, and I might want to take this and look at it. Let's say I want this to not snap to things. So I'm going to disable O-snaps. And I'm just going to bring something that kind of comes around and comes up and leans inward a bit. And I'll zoom in on that. And I think I want to take my control points, and I want to flatten the bottom of this out. In fact, make it pretty flat, as close to flat as I can. So I think that looks pretty good. And in order to make this symmetrical, I'm going to take this curve and I'm going to mirror it around the center point here. I'll turn my O-snaps back on. And so I've mirrored that curve. And I'm going to take those two curves and I'm going to join them. And now I can take them and offset by a distance, in this case of 2 inches inward. So I've got what looks like it might be a pretty nice, nice looking thing. I might want to make it more vertical. In the end, it's a little bit, maybe it leans in a little bit too much, so maybe I'll go back and I'll take that away and I'll go back to my edit points. And I'll make the side, I'll turn it back to be a little bit more vertical at the top. I think I like that better. So again, I'll just go through the process of mirroring that. Notice I'm using the geometry of the stair tower in the distance to get my vertical line, since my my C-plane is in a funky angle, so I can't just hold shift. So I'll take these two and again join them, offset them, and I'll draw some curvature, some straight line curves to close them at the top. And I'll turn off my O-snap. Well, I can't turn off my O-snaps. I'm snapping to something odd. End to end. Okay. And I'll now take all of these curves and I will join them one last time so that I have one closed polyline that will be the cross-section of the slide. I'm going to switch my C-plane back to the world top. So I'm going to take this cross-section curve and I'm going to array it along a curve, and the path curve selected near its base point is the center line. I'm going to tell it that I want 6 items arrayed along here, although I'm probably not going to use all 6 to create my my lofts or my sweeps, but I want to have 6 of them to work with. And I'm going to select the road-like orientation button here, say OK. It wants a viewport. I'll click in the top viewport to choose a C-plane so that the road is looking down that way. And then we look in the perspective view, you can see that these cross-section curves follow along, and they end up following that path like it is a roadway. So it ends up being perpendicular at the bottom just as it is at the top, and it follows its way around as it goes. It doesn't lean in to bend around the curves, and we'll talk about that when we make the surfaces out of this in the next video. So we have enough geometry now to make our first slide, and we'll start making slides using this geometry in the next video. Thank you.